So how's everyone tonight? Still here? When I say still here, I think of, you probably heard of the teacher Ram Dass, right? And he first became famous for writing Be Here Now, that book in the 60s. And then many years later, he had a stroke. He was in a wheelchair and he's totally debilitated. But he wrote another book called Still Here. So, he's a good example. You're still here, that's a good sign. Suzuki Roshi once told his students, don't chicken out. Don't run away. Now of course you can, but there's nowhere to go. And practice makes that very clear. Same things that upset you in this room are going to upset you on holiday. So then we have to ask, happiness. Is happiness something we do or make? Or is it something we actually realize and receive? Can we do something to be happier? Even if that doing is meditation, because we want to be happier, so we commit to a practice. So how can we be happy in a lasting way? It's kind of, a central question. And is there any connection between our meditation practice and happiness? And if there's not, then why are we doing this? And if there is sometimes and sometimes not, then what is it that makes it, work? So what should I be doing to be more happy? So that's why tonight I want to talk about effort. Like what do we do? What kind of effort should we be making in our lives in order to improve the states of our mind? I mean, there's lots of things you can do on the outside to improve whatever skill or technique or work you're doing, right? I mean, you just improve the skill and then you just repeat it and work on it and learn. So, Dogen has this famous saying, Japanese term, Shoshaku Joshaku, and it's translated as improving from mistake, or winning a mistake by a mistake. And it actually is translated as one continuous mistake. One continuous mistake. And there was a Japanese poet named Issa who later wrote a haiku, and he said, the haiku goes like this: my wife, my daughters, he had wife and daughters, friends, this is for you. Satori, which is like awakening, is this: one mistake after another. Mistake after mistake. That's how he defined Satori. And it's really coming out of Dogen, the practice, the continuous practice of mistake after mistake. Now, we in we kind of judge our lives by our successes. If you're doing well, it's because things have been going well for you, and you've had success in your efforts. You know, work, family, whatever, studies, successful. You know, and we have a different model here. That your success is judged by your mistakes. Isn't that remarkable? I would really take that to heart. So it's really trying to work on the inherent aversion we have to failing, and the self-judgment and criticism, and then how it builds, you know, failure builds on failure instead of mistake building on mistake. See, there's a difference there, right? Mistake is something then you do again. You make another take, and another take, and another take, right? Like takes in a movie, right? Take one, take two. And you go through them because of the mistakes. And that's simply the practice. You know, the mistakes are the path, right? You can't shoot the film with one take. It's impossible. So Satori awakening is really embracing the mistakes as your path. You know, how can we actually, you know, open to that? To mistakes being really not that I did something wrong. I mean, of course, if you hurt someone intentionally, like there's a problem there. You know, you have to address it. But the mistakes that most of us are experiencing as just part of the course, we say, it's just like the norm. It's the norm. Do we get a sense of self or an identity that is a failure, or do we understand that this is the root of my enlightenment? My awakening is based on these mistakes. Right? Satori is simply this, mistake after mistake. Or do I say, like, I'm just a failure, like I'm a loser, I can't do this. You know, maybe you don't have that big a label, right? But we kind of, you know, see that we have a long way to go before I'm awakened or happy. What if awakening really is, you know, the problem, right? What if dukkha is the place where we find enlightenment and nirvana? So all of our efforts to suddenly be successful are actually totally misplaced, right? And seriously problematic. Mistaken in the normal sense of the word. How can I readjust my understanding of what it means to be here? That it's not a sense of always succeeding and doing the right thing, but it's embracing doing the wrong thing. And saying that that's where I really have to be present and open. How can I understand that? Yeah, just in relation to this, I read this research done on people who were in a neurosurgery program, trained to be neurosurgeons. Very competitive, very difficult, very demanding, and stressful. And there are those who dropped out and failed, and there are those who succeeded. And the researcher wanted to know, like, well, what was kind of the difference between these two groups? So the question he posed to them was, what mistakes did you make? Okay, and why did you make them? And almost, you know, completely the difference was those who succeeded said, oh yeah, I made tons of mistakes, you know, and it was my fault. Like it was my fault. I made those mistakes, right? Like I screwed up. Okay, and then they talked about what they did to change that. And the ones who dropped out or failed, I didn't make many mistakes, but when I did, this person, there was a problem with the system, or somebody did something wrong, right? There was a distancing from the mistake. So the irony, or the kind of the counterintuitive understanding of the path here, which Dogen understood really immediately, was that if you want to succeed, it's by fully entering the mistake. It's being one with the mistake. It's being fearless and seeing it as a true invitation to the path. Because it's not about you and about your ego. It's not about your sense of self being successful or not. And when we finally understand that, then the mistakes are wonderful opportunities to learn. Right? To learn about humans, to learn about the path, to learn about, you know, how to act and how to bring intention into action. And how often I, you know, do make a mistake when I try to take good intentions into, you know, skillful actions. And to see that juncture, that point where it often makes a wrong turn, right? Because we all want to do the right thing, and we all want to help others. But then, when it gets involved in activity, okay, it gets confused. Because there are a lot of other conditions and factors to work with, and not just my own ideas. So, then it becomes this really like an experiment in what? In compassion. You know? I'm sorry that I screwed up, I'm sorry that I hurt you, and now like let's discover what's gonna happen. So, does this make it passive? No, it's very active. I was reading a child's book the other day to my kid. It's about Bruce Lee. Everybody watch those old movies? Bruce Lee, greatest kung fu master ever produced. And he was also a very deeply spiritual individual, right? He trained a lot also in meditation, and he had lots of he had a full like library of spiritual works. And he wrote his own approach. And his own approach he summarized as the way of no way. And it's a kung fu master. Okay, also movie star. The way of no way. It meant, well, I don't know what it meant. But I think, okay, one of the ways I understand the way of no way in terms of what he was doing was that he wasn't practicing martial arts and cinema in order to be famous, in order to succeed. It was not about success. Okay? It was about fully manifesting his power in this present moment. Right? It was an end in itself. Right? It truly was an end in itself. It was a way of no way, because the way led right here. It was no way because it didn't go into the future. It led to the present. That's the way of no way. If we can understand that our happiness, our success, and failure, all the mistakes and everything is this moment. That's the way of no way. Okay, Bruce Lee, don't take it from me. Now, he also is coming from a long, long tradition, okay, of the confluence of martial arts and Zen and spirituality, going back to the first Zen ancestor, Bodhidharma. What did he do after he kind of had his big awakening? He founded the Shaolin monastery, which was the first training place for martial arts. Okay, and this is back in the year like 400 something. And we see that there is a deep connection between contemplation, present mind, and very skillful activity. Okay, skillful activity, being real, you know, on top of what's needed now. Meditation is not passive or active. It's present. That's what it is. Okay? And when you need to be still, you're still. And when you need to move, you move. Okay? And when you need to make the mistake, you make the mistake. And you make the mistake fully. Because you realize that this is, exactly what needs to be. And you don't say that needs to be before it happens. But when it happened and after it happens, it happened. So that's what needed to happen. And that's what I'm going to deal with. That's what Satori is fully appreciating and embracing the experience, not before. That's also a common misunderstanding of non-attachment. Like non-attachment before you're involved is like indifference. Okay? But non-attachment during, while, after. Okay? It's like Suzuki Roshi also, he gave this definition of surrender. He says, surrender is not rejecting things, but it's accepting that they go away. Okay? It's accepting that they go away. That's true surrender. Non-attachment is accepting that whatever you're hoping to achieve is going to go away. Right? And mistake or failure then ends up being just ideas in your own mind. This also happened and was spoken about during this one koan that I want to share. It's a well-known koan, which is this sort of story in the Zen tradition used to teach us something. And it's called Nansen is polishing a tile. So the master Nansen, who's this really well-known master, came in and he saw his student Mazu sitting in meditation like we sit so nicely. And he asked him, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm sitting in meditation." "Oh. Why? Why?" Yeah. He said, "Because I want to become enlightened." Good. That's a good answer. Okay. So then he picked up a stone.
פרובוקציה.
Huh?
פרובוקציה בזן לא מתכוון.
Yeah, he picked up a stone or a tile and he started like polishing it in front of like Mazu. And you're just going to sit there and ignore this activity. And Mazu just can't resist anymore. He says, "What are you doing?" and Mazu said, "I'm making a mirror." And Mazu couldn't hold back and he said, "How can you make a mirror by polishing a stone? How can you become enlightened by sitting meditation?" That was the response. After that, of course, Mazu became enlightened. That's what I love about these stories. The one thing about Zen stories, that was a happy ending. It's like Zen Disney. Everybody gets there in the end. Which is actually true, right? You just might have to go through a lot of mistakes to get there. Except that's the difference.
Cat, no.
What's that? Oh, he also killed the cat, but I don't want to go there right now. It was also the cat. That's a different point. That's just because people were, they also were in their ideas too much. But all the stories are trying to get you out of your ideas. And here it was trying to get us out of the idea that our meditation is a means to an end. It's a means to an end. That we're doing something in order to create, as I said, to make ourselves happy. Right? You can't make yourself happy. Because if you could, you'd already be happy. Wouldn't you? And lastingly happy. So if you knew what to do, then you'd be doing it. You'd be happy. So something obviously isn't working. Mistake after mistake. So then why do we sit meditation?
Daniel,
I have a question regarding the polishing, like some orthodox point of view, and because it reminds me, I don't know, not a story but a teaching of Ajahn Chah, which said that it's true, the state of mind that we have, they are all the same, but like all the people of the world, we are all the same, we are all part of nature, but still we have special relationship to our parents, for example. That's the example he gave. And he said that concentration or mindfulness are like our parents. It's true, they are state of minds, but still we need to develop them, or there is we have strong relation to them, which is based on true things or on valuable things. And regarding happiness, so there is a path in a way that leads us to cultivate happiness. Maybe, and when I'm thinking about maybe meditation or to do meditation, it's not getting you to enlightenment, I don't know, but I think that there is conditions which are supportive, conducive, I don't know how to say, which that's why we are sitting together with quiet environments or something, because conditions are important. So maybe the condition of the mind is also it's better to be in one state of mind than the other in a certain way. That's the question I'm asking. Maybe to hear your reflection regarding that, because no way. And
I mean, traditionally the Buddha taught effort in this way, in a real simple way. He said the right effort, right meaning right versus like wholesome versus unwholesome, not right versus wrong or good versus evil. Wholesome, unwholesome. He said it is to have wholesome thoughts arise where there weren't wholesome thoughts. Those wholesome thoughts that have arisen, to maintain them. To stop unwholesome thoughts that have arisen, and to prevent unwholesome thoughts from arising. Those are the four kind of techniques or definitions of right effort from the Buddha. So it really did seem then like something we're doing with the mind. And it really did seem like having to, in some way, evaluate your thoughts. So that with mindfulness and concentration, but especially mindfulness, and the concentration meaning that you keep a point so that you aren't flying away with all the thoughts. And the mindfulness is the awareness of what is happening. So that we are being very mindful of these four different aspects. I notice something arising, I discriminate whether it's wholesome or unwholesome, and if it's wholesome, I encourage it to continue. If it's unwholesome, I discourage it. All right? And I discourage it by returning to my point of focus and not getting involved and recognizing that it's not something to cultivate. Right? And then discriminating when it is, of benefit, kind thoughts, patient thoughts, generous thoughts, loving thoughts, caring thoughts, unselfish thoughts, altruistic thoughts, all these types of thoughts that arise, right? Versus all the ones that are unwholesome. What are they? Well, come on, we know them. Impatient, angry, restless, anxious, self-centered, self-cherishing, judgmental, all that sort of stuff. You see it arise. And the real fine-tuning of mindfulness is to notice the arising before it's even become a thought. Right? That's the root that we want to get to. Is our mindfulness is so clear and present that you can even notice a very shift in consciousness that is about to arise something unwholesome. Like, oh, I know where that's going to go. Right? That's going to become, and I'm going to let it pass. Let that energy pass. Right? I'm not going to develop that energy. I'm not going to invest in that. right? Whereas when we're unmindful, we find ourselves having this whole really toxic conversation again. You know? Because we got involved in it and it was felt exciting in a bad way. So yes, there is that mental cultivation. How does that relate though to the sense of way of no way? Way of no way. Seamlessly. Seamlessly. And I really mean that. Because the true happiness, awareness, and even enlightened nature of the mind is something that we realize by letting the hindrances fall away. So the work here is to let what's covering, what's obscuring that natural clarity, right? To open those curtains, you know, of the mind. And, you know, there's that old poem, right? The spring flowers and the summer breezes, the autumn rains and the winter snows. If your mind is not clouded by disturbing thoughts, it's the best time of your life. So, really, that kind of discriminating mindfulness is not another form of thought, but it's allowing those disturbing thoughts simply to settle, pass. And what I was saying earlier is like, just give it a rest, like let it rest. And when things rest and settle, what is the state of your mind? You know, when your mind is clear and undisturbed, what is the state of it? Is it like ecstatic rapture, joy? Maybe, but maybe it's just clear. Maybe it's just clear. And that clarity, perhaps, that clarity is a different understanding of what it means to be happy. You know? It's the happiness of non-self. We know what that's like, right? And it's a deeper happiness than one of the self. In fact, it eludes the definition of happiness, because happiness is so self-centered generally, the way we speak about it. You're here, and being here is enough, and wherever it is. So, yes, there's work to do, and then you let go of it. But so much of the work is actually in the letting go. And that's kind of the way of no way. Where you're letting go of these thoughts having to pull you. You know, there's a, I was thinking about this today. I read this novelist that I've never read before. I just got exposed to this passage of a book, and I thought, wow. You know, sometimes you read something, and you think, this is true. Like, this is just true. And it's not because it's religious or Dharma or anything like that. It's actually true. She was a novelist in the 1930s. I'm going to read it for you, if you don't mind. I just want to share it. I wrote down in my handwriting, which if I can read it, that will be great. Who writes by hand anymore? Just old people like me. Willa Cather. Now, Willa Cather, she was a writer in the 1930s in Nebraska, which is like just prairies, flat land, okay? And she wrote these stories about a town. And here's a passage that became a couple of paragraphs that became so well known that people know them by heart. And this is what it is. And then you'll see why I'm reading it. You'll understand. I wanted to walk straight on through the red grass and over the edge of the world, which could not be very far away. The light air told me that the world ended here. Only the ground and the sun and the sky were left. I kept as still as I could. Nothing happened. I did not expect anything to happen. I was something that lay under the sun and felt it, like the pumpkins, and I did not want to be anything more. I was entirely happy. Perhaps we feel like that when we die and become a part of something entire, whether it is sun and air, or goodness and knowledge. At any rate, that is happiness. To be dissolved into something complete and great. When it comes to one, it comes as naturally as sleep. I am absolutely certain she had never read anything in Buddhism. Didn't matter. The happiness she's describing here is a realization of just who you are, where you are, and what you are. It's not what you've done, what you've taken, and what you've achieved. It has nothing to do with you. It's what's called in Zen the great death. There's the small death in Zen and the great death. The small death is your body. The great death is your sense of self that is separate. And here, maybe it's like that when we die, that we just feel ourselves part of something greater than ourselves. And that's a deep happiness, isn't it? Because there's no separation between you and the moon you're viewing. You are the moon and the moon is you. Yeah? And you don't need to own it. There's no achievement there. There's no success or failure. Right? And the other thing that struck me at the end of this passage was when she said, and it comes as naturally as sleep. And that is something, the irony of sleep is you can't make it happen. I mean, sure, you can take a pill. Okay, but that's cheating. Which sometimes you have to do. Sometimes you have to cheat in life when it comes to sleep. But it is really the way of no way. It's the letting go. It's achieving by letting go. Totally. So sleep and enlightenment here are kind of, and it's ironic because we talk about enlightenment as being waking up, wake up. But it's also going to sleep. It's also that naturalness, that letting go. Think of enlightenment that way. That deep rest, where you no longer have to prove yourself. Success and failure are so far away. You're already here and that's enough. There's you, there's the moon, there's the earth, there's the sun, there's the people, there's the trees, there's the air. You have already arrived. That is the effort of no effort, the way of no way. Simple and true. But sometimes it takes practice. Want to read another short passage that Dogen, from Master Dogen, where even though he calls the practice that we're involved in mistake after mistake, he has another important term in his understanding of our practice, and he says it's continuous practice. Continuous practice. Continuous practice, day after day, is the most appropriate way of expressing gratitude. This means that you practice continuously without wasting a single day of your life, without using it for your own sake. Why is it so? Your life is a fortunate outcome of the continuous practice of the past. You should express your gratitude immediately. You are here because of the continuous mistake after mistake Satori enlightenment practice of the past. Now that is why you're here. Okay? Your own personal past, the past of your ancestors. Okay? All the Buddhas before you, all your ancestors. That continuous practice that led to this moment. All the developments of world history that have led to this particular beneficial opportunity. How marvelous. So if that's not a reason for gratitude, I don't know what is. You don't give thanks because of what you get. You give thanks because you are. And that is a happy place. It's enough to be here. One other image that Ajahn Chah brought up is of building a house and then sweeping it and dusting it. That, we have a house that we've built, we have our body, we have our minds, we have our intelligence, we have all the materials that we inherited and that we've been given to build this house. But if you just leave it alone, it's gonna fall apart or get really dirty and full of dust. So we need to continuously take care of the house. Sometimes it's just dusting it, sometimes it's really scrubbing it, sometimes it's renovating it, but it's always paying attention to what's needed. And sometimes it can just be, when you're sitting here, a gentle dusting. Gentle dusting. Okay, this thought arising, that unwholesome thought, dust it away. Okay, that wholesome thought, curtains, windows open. Right? Unwholesome thought, a little bit of dusting to do. Right? It's gentle. It's a gentle practice. So take care of your house with much gratitude.